Sometimes the ocean throws us these stories. Scientifically fascinating, but, also kind of sad. And today we're diving into one of those, a humpback anglerfish, found unexpectedly at the surface. Imagine, a creature that's totally made for crushing pressure and freezing cold and, darkness all the time. And then all of a sudden it's in the sunlight.
Yeah, it's hard to even think about. And this anglerfish, a creature of the deep, was found alive near the Canary Islands. It was during actually a shark research expedition. It's a total accident, but it turned really sad really fast.
So let's break this down first. Can you paint us a picture of this anglerfish's home? I mean, we're talking about the deep ocean. What even is it like down there?
Oh, it's a whole different world than anything we know. Imagine it's always night. And the only light is from, the creatures that live there. They glow, the pressure, it's insane. Anything from up here would be crushed, and it's freezing.
But things live there. This anglerfish, its body is round. It has that creepy glowing lure. It's perfectly made for this crazy place.
Exactly. That lure, it's called an esca. It hangs right above its mouth, attracting, unsuspecting things to eat in the pitch black. And the anglerfish is dark. It's camouflage, basically. And how they reproduce, crazy. The males are tiny. They attach to the females, which are much bigger. It's like evolution, at its most extreme.
It's all about survival down there, adapting this delicate balance that's been perfected over, who knows, millions of years. And then this anglerfish, it gets pulled out of all that, brought to the surface. What happened?
So Laia Valor, she's a marine biologist. She was on the expedition that found it. She said it was like a moment of shock and worry. They realized right away this creature, it didn't belong there, exposed, vulnerable.
And sadly, it only lived for a few hours after they found it. It makes you think, what must that have been like those last hour?
The sunlight, the warmth, no pressure. It must have been overwhelming, maybe even terrifying. We might think, oh, from dark to light, that's nice. But for this creature, a nightmare, probably.
And I keep asking myself, why? Why did this anglerfish, make this journey to the surface, which, killed it in the end?
It is a mystery. But there are some clues. Scientists think maybe El Nino, that weather pattern, it can mess up the currents, the temperatures. Maybe that made a role.
So we're talking about climate change, reaching even the deepest parts of the ocean.
It's something to think about, isn't it? Imagine having to leave your home, the place you've adapted to, over millions of years, because it's changing and you can't live there anymore. That's what a lot of deep sea creatures might be facing.
It really makes you realize what we do up here, it matters, even in the deepest parts of the ocean. And this anglerfish, spending its last hours, under a sun it was never meant to see. It's like a symbol of that connection. Heartbreaking. And you can't ignore it.
Yeah, it does make you think. And it made a lot of other people think, too. This anglerfish, its story, it didn't stay hidden. It kind of came up, surfaced online, on Reddit especially.
Right. It's 15 minutes of fame. But, internet fame, I saw it, too. It's amazing how, something so strange could, grab people's attention like that.
It kind of shows, our shared humanity, maybe. People felt for it, this vulnerable creature struggling, in a place that was basically killing it.
Some people even, they saw something kind of beautiful in it coming up to the surface. It was, this wise old creature, and its dream was to see the sun. Finally, it did.
Yeah. So someone even called it a respected old grandmother, finally feeling the sunlight after living in darkness its whole life. Of course, it probably wasn't like that at all, but I don't know. It's we need to find meaning even when it's sad.
It shows that even with all the science, we humans, we still put our own feelings, our own stories onto nature. But let's talk about the anglerfish and science.
Sure. The internet moves on fast, but science keeps going. This anglerfish, even though it died, it's teaching us stuff.
They took it to a museum, right, to study it. What are they hoping to learn from it?
They're looking at its biology, what it ate, how old it was, trying to put together its whole life story and maybe figure out why it came up to the surface. They look at things like the chemicals in its body that can tell you how deep it lived, what it ate.
So even dead, it's teaching us about the deep ocean, which we barely know anything about.
Exactly. Every little bit of information helps us understand how everything's connected down there and how what we do, might be affecting it. This isn't just about one anglerfish. It's about all the creatures in the deep and, their whole world.
Which leads to, the bigger problems the deep ocean's facing. You mentioned El Nino, but what else is dangerous for these places?
Well, a lot, unfortunately. Pollution, for one. Plastic, chemicals, even noise from us. It all goes down there, and we're just starting to understand how it affects things.
It's crazy to think what we do up here, it can reach so far down.
It does. And then there's deep sea trawling. That's where they drag these huge nets on the ocean floor. It's like wiping out, whole habitats, catching anything and everything. Imagine a bulldozer going through a forest, destroying everything. That's what trolling does at these like fragile places.
Awful. And then on top of that, you've got seabed mining, taking minerals from the ocean floor.
Yeah, it's a triple whammy. Pollution, bad fishing, and now mining. The deep ocean, it's facing all these pressures, and it could be really bad, not just for the things living there, but for the whole planet.
It feels, I don't know, overwhelming. Like, is there even anything we can do?
It's easy to feel that way, yeah. But I wouldn't say it's hopeless. We can do things as individuals, as a society, to, change things for the better.
Okay, so give us some hope. How can we be better, caretakers of the deep ocean?
Well, one thing is to choose sustainable seafood. Look for those labels like the Marine Stewardship Council, the blue one. That means the fish will caught in a way that minimizes the impact on the environment.
So basically we can vote with our dollars.
Exactly. And cutting down on single-use plastics, that's a big one. Those plastic bags, bottles, they end up in the ocean and they can hurt the creatures living there.
Small steps, big impact. I like that. Anything else?
Learn about the ocean. Support groups that are protecting it. Tell other people. The more we understand about the deep ocean, the better chance we have to save it, for the future.
So it comes down to awareness, huh? Knowing that the deep ocean, even though we don't see it, it's connected to us.
Exactly. What happens down there affects us all. This anglefish, coming up to the surface and dying. It's a powerful reminder of that.
And maybe a wake-up call. It is a wake-up call. Speaking of action, what are scientists doing to study the deep and, protect it?
Well, there's a lot of amazing research going on. For example, there are teams using ROVs, those underwater robots, and submersibles to go down into the deepest parts, mapping the seafloor and collecting samples, stuff we've never seen before.
It's like exploring a whole new planet that's right here.
Yeah, it really is. And then you've got projects looking at how climate change affects the deep, like ocean acidification, rising temperatures, changes in oxygen levels. All that stuff can be, devastating for the creatures down there.
So getting the data, understanding the problems, that's important. But what about actually protecting these places? What can we do?
There's a few things. One is setting up these marine protected areas, basically like safe zones where you can't fish or, do other stuff that might be harmful. That helps protect those important habitats and lets them recover if they've been damaged.
Like underwater national parks.
Exactly. And there are also efforts to, make fishing rules better. So they use sustainable methods, less bycatch, less damage to the seafloor, and of course dealing with pollution from the source. Less plastic, cleaner energy, and, making industries more eco-friendly.
So many things to work on. It feels like a lot.
It is, but there are people working on it, fighting for these underwater worlds that most people never see.
It's good to know. So what's the main thing you want people to remember about this anglerfish and, it coming up from the deep?
I'd say even though the deep ocean seems so far away, so different from our world, it's really connected to us. What happens down there affects everyone. And what we do, our choices, they can change the future of these amazing places. The anglerfish's story, it's sad, but it's also a reminder, a reminder to be aware, to do something, to take care of the deep.
That's really well said. As we finish up, I keep thinking about that image, the anglerfish in the sun, just completely out of place, so vulnerable. It's really powerful.
It is. It shows how fragile life is, how delicate the balance of nature is, and how everything is connected. We're all part of this, and what we do matters, not just for us, but for everything else on this planet.
It makes you think. But it's not all bad, because if we can mess things up, we can also fix them. Right? We can protect things, make a future where these creatures, like the anglerfish, they can live where they belong, in the deep.
I agree. There's this quote by Sylvia Earle, the oceanographer. She said, "No water, no life. No blue, no green."
It's simple, but, it's true. We need the ocean.
Yeah. So as we leave everyone with this story, let's give them something to think about. What can they do, in their own lives to help the ocean, help the planet?
Maybe start by just thinking about it. Go sit by the ocean if you can. Listen to the waves. Imagine what's down there, all that life, all those mysteries. And then ask yourself, what can I do today to protect it? The answer, I think, it's inside all of us.
That's a great place to end. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was great being here.